वसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरु गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वर गुरुर्साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु महाविद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ पूर्णमद पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। Okay, hi Nishi. And we started. I think there's one more person. Can you turn on the camera so I can see you who that is? So we were in chapter number
5.
What chapter? We are in chapter number 3, right? Yeah, okay. As far as you guys remember, we are good. So chapter number 3.
Are we on the last book?
Yeah, almost there. So we are chapter number 3 and we're towards the end. So we are learning how to overcome kama, right? God says kama esho krodha esha. So how to overcome kama? Kama means, you know, sometimes if people know or understand the Hindi, calm has 2 meanings. So I want to make sure that you guys understand. If people talk in Hindi at home or know a little bit Hindi, calm is desire that we are talking here. And sometimes we use like in you know, just a regular language, calm means, you know, anybody? One is desire. Calm is the desire word. And one another word, calm. Have you heard that I'm going for मैं काम पर जाता हूँ, ऐसा सुना है? Anybody heard that? What does that calm means? That calm means desire. Yeah, Risha, you want to say?
It means work.
It means work, yeah. So make sure you guys understand that there are 2 calm that we use in Hindi. It has 2 meanings. Do not get confused with that, okay? So one calm, if somebody says I'm going for work, then they can use मैं काम पे जाता हूँ, जाती हूँ, right? So that might work. It's not that I'm going to desire. So make sure you guys understand that. So now God has said that we have the biggest enemy. What is that biggest enemy that we have? What is it that the biggest enemy that we have? Anybody? The biggest enemy that God discussed in last couple shlok. What is the biggest enemy? Yeah, Swara?
Desire?
Desire, yeah. I already gave the answer. So the biggest enemy of us is desire. You know, what did Arjuna ask Krishna Bhagwan? Arjuna asked Krishna Bhagwan that why do people do wrong thing even though they don't want to do wrong things, but they still go ahead and do wrong things, right? Right? They still go ahead and do wrong things, and what is the problem with it? So God answered back saying that what is the bad thing? Why do they do wrong things even though we know it is wrong, right? A lot of you guys explained, gave some example that when you did wrong things and you regret after doing that, you regret that why did you do that, though you know that it was wrong while doing it. right? So a lot of you guys shared that story. I will share one of my story which I didn't share last time, and it's long time ago, but I still wanted to share this story with you guys because when I was kid like you, I used to go to school like you, and then what happened is we had there was a half a day where we have to go and play some sports, and then the other half a day was our regular classes. So we were playing sports, and then our team won. It was we were playing a game where our team won, and I'm going to tell you the game. You will be like, what was that game? It was, I don't know if you heard any time, kabaddi. Have you heard the game kabaddi? It was in one of the movies recently that came. So I used to play kabaddi, and then our team won. So we were so happy and excited and everything, right? So then what happened? The team decided, because we win and we want to celebrate, we want to just not go in the remaining classes at the school, right? So then we decided that, hey, we're going to go and celebrate. At that time, it was, we all got into that. I knew inside my heart that I'm doing the wrong thing, right? But what happened is, with the whole thing that we won and we want to celebrate, what did I do?
You won.
I went with all my friends, right? And then we just did not go to our regular class. So I did that. I went and we celebrated it. But every minute I celebrated, there was there was something that was holding me back and saying that I'm doing something wrong. Still I did it, because what was it? That my desire to be with my friends, my desire to go and, they will have fun and I will not, I will sit in the class, right? All that desire make me do that thing, right? Definitely you can understand what consequences I went through after that, right? If you bunk a class, what happens? Right? So that same consequences I went through too, and you can understand. But that's the bad thing, that even though I knew that I was doing the wrong thing, I still went ahead and did the wrong thing, right? So that's what happens and God gave the answer. What is the answer? What is the answer? God gave the answer that what happened when you do the wrong thing and you still keep doing the wrong thing? That's the desire, right? You want to do the things, your desire takes over your mind, your desires take over your intellect, and you make the wrong decision and you continue go with it, right? So that's what God was explaining us last time. Like last couple shloks, he explained us that desire is our biggest enemy, right? So then when he gave the answer, so what happens is desire manifest raga and dvesha. What is raga and dvesha? Raga is attraction and dvesha is repulsion. Like likes and dislikes. You can also say attraction means likes and dislikes. So what happened is desire manifests this in our mind, brain, our mind, intellect. This is manifested, and then that gives us attraction and repulsion, or likes and dislike. So what happened is we like some things and we started disliking something, and that all came from where? Desire, right? The root part is the desire, right? So what happens is, this is in our regular life, but even in spirituality, if we want to go, we want to say, okay, you know what, I want to do bhakti of God, right? I want to do love of God. But then what happens is, the world comes, we started loving the world more than God, and then it stops it. So desires again come in the middle, and we cannot do good bhakti. Even if you want to do karma yoga, we want to do selfless work, or we want to just dedicate everything to God, that also we cannot do. And why we cannot do? Again, it goes to the desire. What's going to happen is, we get into the world actions and worldly things, and that stops our desire, that stops our we cannot get over desire, and that's where the karma yoga doesn't come across to us. Yes.
What does that say?
Repulsion. Attraction.
No.
Attraction.
Rag.
Rag,
No,
Dislikes
Devsha.
and
Likes and dislikes. Likes and dislikes.
Oh.
You are attracted to something and you are repelled to other things, right? So it's likes and dislikes.
Like avocado.
So then what happened, when we are doing the karma yogas, the selfless work that we want to do, what's going to happen at that time? When desire come and everything starts, the selfishness starts creeping up in our actions, right? So that's all because of desire. So that's for proven that the desire is our biggest enemy, right? Now after this, what happens is when God answered the desire is the biggest thing, what he said. So now we got the enemy, and we have to have what? We have to make sure that we can fight this enemy, right? Next step comes is like we got to know who is our enemy. Now let's fight the enemy. Now with the fight, we need to know where it is, right? Is it in front of me? Is it in back of me? Is it in left side, right side? When we need to fight, we need to know where the enemy is. So then in verse 40, God says the enemy is, where does it stay? Where is the enemy stays? Enemy is desire, and it is located where? Where is it located? We already studied that last week. So can anybody answer me? Yes, Risha?
Under knowledge?
Knowledge, yeah, kind of. You are towards the right answer. Yes, Arsia? Very close.
In our brain?
Brain, yeah, that is true too. What else? Here? Mind? Hmm?
Like, wait, where the desires are located?
No, where does the desire is located? Yes, yeah. Yeah.
Your intellect?
Yeah, right. So 2 places you said right. Mind and intellect. What else? There is another place.
Body.
What is one more place where it is located? Yes, Swara.
Soul?
Soul is not covered with anything, right? Consciousness, soul is not covered with anything. It's independent by itself. You remember we talk about that there is a soul in everybody is the same, and then there is Prakriti. So this whole thing we are talking about is Prakriti. So soul is by itself, nothing is covered. Yes. Senses, yes. Senses. So there is 3 locations of that enemy. One is our senses, mind, and intellect. That's where the desire is located. So we get to know the location of where the enemy stays, right? If we don't know where the enemy is, how will we defeat it? So senses, mind, and intellect, right? So now we know where it says, right? Now we are aware of it. What happens is in verse 42, which we did last week, what did God say? God said that he explained the whole model. So let me explain the model. What happened is model, there is an object, right? For me, everything is object around me, right? This book, this pen, this board, this iPad, all of you, everything around me is object, right? If I consider myself as the self, consciousness, everything around me is an object, right? So then what happens is object comes first. Then our senses sees the object, feels the object, listens to the object, look at the object, hear the object, smell the object, then senses come, right? After senses, what comes? The mind comes, which think about the object, right? The thoughts comes, right? And then after mind, what comes? Intellect come, which decide what is the object, what do we need to do with the object. And then last come the consciousness, the self, which is away from everything. Self, consciousness, Atman, you can identify anyway, right? This is the model that is given by Krishna Bhagwan in verse 42. Now, how the things work here, right? It's very easy. Now we are what are we doing here? We are trying to figure out how to defeat desire, right? So remember that part. We are not here to plan what body does and what object does and what senses does. We are not doing that. What we are doing is our one and single goal is that how can we defeat the desires. Now again, I would want to make sure you guys are clear. When you hear desire, it's not all about the bad desires that we are saying, right? If you have a desire to help other people, that's a good desire. We don't want to get rid of it, right? That's like that sakar that we were talking last time. That's like a rock candy, right? We want that sweet that doesn't cause any acid reflux, right? All the other sweet cause acid reflux. All the other desires, the worldly desire, cause the problem. But helping others, try to help others and have that emotion of helping others, that's not the wrong desire, right? You should have that desire. So you remember, not all desires are bad when we are talking about it. But any desire that is just to fulfill your, worldly, if you have all the worldly desire, that is what we need to get away with, right? We don't want that desire to be placed in our head all the time, right? So then this is the model. Now Katho Upanishad, I think we discussed this in first or second class. Katho Upanishad has given this model. You know Nachiketa story, the Nachiketa goes to the Yamraj and asks him the question, and he said, I don't want to go back, and just keep me here. And Yamraj says, no, I cannot keep you here, but he said you need to give the answers. You remember I told you that story? So I don't know if you guys remember. Doesn't look like from your face that you remember. But it was the story where Nachiketa got, his dad says, go. Nachiketa was causing a trouble when his dad was doing yagna. So Nachiketa asked a lot of questions, and then the dad got so tired that he said, go and die. So Nachiketa goes and then said, I want to die, and goes to the Yamraj and knock his door, and Yamraj is not there for 3 days, and he kept knocking the door. And when Yamraj comes, he sees that a little boy is sitting in front of his door, and he said, oh my God, how long are you sitting here? And the boy said, I'm sitting here for 3 days. And then Yamraj says, oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't, he did not eat, he did not sleep, and everybody, Yamraj has a big kingdom, right? So all the people were asking him to come inside, eat something, but the boy said, no, I want to meet the Yamraj, otherwise I'm not going to come inside. So he sat there outside and waited for him. Then Yamraj says, because I left you alone for 3 days and you did not eat anything, you can ask me for 3 blessings. And then one of the blessings, he said, you need to tell me everything about Jiva. Jiva means this life. You need to tell me where it started and why I can, why nothing satisfies me. And that's where Yamraj tell him about the whole Upanishad is written on that, Katho Upanishad, right? So in that Upanishad, this thing is given that I'm going to talk to you about, and I did talk to you about before too. They compare the human mind system with the chariot that is in front of your book. You guys remember in front of your book, the front cover? Sean, can I see your book so I can show you? This one. You remember this? The chariot? You guys have it? So now you guys help me to solve the model here, okay? So we have senses. In the picture, what represents senses? You guys can unmute your thing and say, yes, Ansh.
Horses.
The horses, awesome. So horses represent senses. Okay. What is mind represented by in the picture? Mind? Anybody here? You guys forgot about it? Yes, no, she remembers. Yes. Yes, Swara. Yeah.
The reins or the reins?
The rain. How do you spell it, Krishna?
R-E-E-I-N.
R-E-I-N-S. Rains. Okay, what is intellect now? What is intellect? Yes. Aswara, you want to go? What is intellect?
Driver.
The driver. Awesome. Okay. Where is the body come from? Body. What is body?
The chair.
Yes, Swara. Oh, Swara was
Chariot.
chariot. Yes. And where is the soul or consciousness? What is soul or consciousness? Let me see. Neil, you were raising your hand before. I missed you.
It's the passenger.
The passenger. Awesome. Okay. So, and what are the objects in this picture? Our senses dwell on the objects, right? What are the objects? The path. The path where the chariot is running is the object, right? So it is said, so we know all this, what it represents, right? Now what we have to do? We are talking about, again, keep in mind, Arjun is defeating Kauravas. What are we defeating sitting on this chariot? Who are we defeating here? Who is the enemy? Yes, Risha. Desire. You awesome. So, okay. Awesome. I like it. So, desire is our enemy. That's what we are defeating. Now, we have this chariot. Like how Krishna Bhagavan and Arjun went together. We have this with us. Right? Right now. Now, we need to do what we need to do here. How can we do it? Now, we have to figure this out. How can we do it? So, senses, mind, intellect. Now, body, we definitely, need to think about it, what we need to do, and soul. So, consciousness is there, right? Now, what we need to work right now, what we see is most senses, the object, senses, mind, and intellect. And these are the 4 things we need to work on, first of all, right? Now, look at it where does first our desire starts? Let's look at it, right? So the first of all, our desire starts from, where do you think our desire starts? Do you guys can feel where does the desire starts from? Senses. You're right. It starts from senses. Ansh, were you saying something?
I was gonna say senses.
Good. So it starts from senses, right? What happens is we saw an object, or we hear the object, or we touch it, or we smell it, or we ate it. That's where the senses starts, right? And Sonal Auntie's favorite topic is when you see a cookie, right? When you see a cookie, what happens? The senses came and saw the cookie. So my eyes saw the cookie. Now what happened is, as soon as I saw the cookie, I smelled the cookie, I heard the crunchiness of the cookie. What happens? all my thoughts went to my mind. My mind generated the thought. It went to the next messenger is everything that I saw, I heard, I smell, I taste is downloaded to what? All the data is downloaded to my mind, right? So all the data is downloaded to my mind. And then what happened is my mind made its thinking about that cookie was really good. I ate it last time. I loved it. I want to do it. I want to eat it again because I had such a good experience last time with this cookie. I want to have it, right? It stays till that point, right? I want to have it. I love it. I want starts at this stage, right? Now, intellect will be like, it's going to be my thoughts will push, my thoughts keep coming. Oh, I want to have it. I want to have it. It's so good. I want to have it. I want to have it. Now, intellect can make a decision differently, but intellect can be forced by my thoughts, and I will make a decision of having that cookie, right? So the desire starts from senses. It went through my mind, the thoughts came, and then it went to my intellect to make the decision whether I should have it or not, right? And that's where I made the decision, and the driver made my decision, and then I had the cookie, right? So that's how our system works, right? I just gave you an example of cookie. Now take my example where I went out and missed the class, right? What happened? Where did the desire starts from? Desire again starts from the senses, right? I saw that everybody is having fun. I want to have fun too. I want to do this thing with them too, right? The desire start. It downloaded all the data in my mind, and what did I do? I said, you know what? I need to go. I need to go. I want to go. I want to go. And that forces my intellect to do that, right? And my intellect decided to go and do the wrong thing, right? So that's how desire starts from this, goes to this, and then goes to this, right? And then we make the decision right here. So now what we have to do? Where we should, if we got to know that it starts from senses. So if you want to defeat somebody, where do you start from? Where would you start from? Right? You will start from the gate, right? From outward to inwards. That's how you're going to go. That's how you're going to start your war, right? First you have to go and knock that door, and go knock the door, and you will start from the door, right? You cannot just jump in and start, right? You cannot just attack the intellect and say don't think, don't go with the mind. Can you do that? You cannot, right? So what you have to do is you have to do from here, right? So now how can we do it, right? And we learned that before, but I'm going to do that too. So how can we control these things? So let's talk about controlling. How can we control all these things? Horses, right? We talk about it. How can we control horses?
Rain.
Rains control the horses, but how can you control the horses? What do you have to do? Train them, right? But train them, so you need to train, right? Train the horses. What you do with the senses? Because horses are like senses, right? That's what represent here. So what do you do here? You discipline your senses, or train your senses, right? Horses and your senses, what do? You discipline them, right? What do you do at the mind level? What would you do at the mind level? Have you heard word mindfulness? Have you heard that word mindfulness? Where did you hear that?
I've heard that many times.
What is the meaning of mindfulness? I think we talk about it in
Being
first or
mindful
second
of
class.
the things around you.
You can't use the
What? Why? Okay.
to
You know,
keep track of things around you.
yes, to
Literally what I said.
Yeah, but you can't use mindful in the definition of mindfulness.
yeah, you cannot use the mindful word.
Try
I
to
mean.
right now. It's
No, so the definition is the mental status that you get. The mental status that you achieve by following. Listen, Sean, listen. By following one's awareness on the present moment. Right? You got that? What is mindfulness? You focus. You can simplify mindfulness as focus and concentration. Right? So you achieve a mental status that you achieve where one's awareness is so focused. One's awareness is focused on what? The present situation. So right, if Ansh is thinking about how did he played in the cricket match yesterday, he could have done differently, right? Sitting here means he is not mindful right now. His mindfulness, he is not concentrating here, right? So whatever I'm saying, he's listening, but what's going to happen is it's not going to stay with him, right? He will not stabilize in it, right? Sean lost a basketball game today. If he's thinking about basketball game right now, then what's going to happen is he's not listening, and this whatever I'm saying, you might be listening, but what's going to happen is it will not stabilize in you, right? So for that, what you have to do is you have to have concentration. So what do you do with the mind, and what do you do with the mind? You have to focus and concentrate, which comes slowly, right? We are gonna talk about this more in next chapters, so we're gonna talk about this, but still right now you have to think about it, like, you know, we have to not let this go without thinking about how we're gonna defeat desire, right? Now next is intellect. Intellect can, you know, intellect, while, you know, Risha was saying that knowledge, right? So intellect, you need to get knowledge about yourself. Vedantic knowledge, the knowledge about yourself. For intellect, you need to know what you are really, right? Are you this body, mind, and intellect? If you stay with this, your desire will never die. You will stay with the desire. If you think that I am this body, mind, intellect, then your desire will never go away. As soon as you start thinking about that you are the soul and you rented this body, mind, and intellect, what's going to happen at that moment? Then the desires doesn't come, or even come, then you will say you will not cling to it. You will not be so desperate to fulfill it, because you're going to say what do I like and what do I dislike? I'm not this body, mind, so what do I like, what do I not like? It doesn't matter now anymore, because what like and dislike stays in the mind, intellect. It doesn't stay with me. That is the self. That's going to come later, right? So now you will think, oh my God, Sonal aunty, you are talking so, you know, so much about this. I don't even understand what you are talking about. I cannot get it. I cannot stabilize in that. We don't have to go anywhere, right? We have to take baby steps. This is not, you have to not run it, because this is a marathon. This is not just you have to go and, you know, win the race. It's the spirituality is not like that. You have to slowly take baby step and go. So for that, we have to stick only here right now, and some kind of going towards this, right? That's the stage we have to be at this moment. What is the stage? We need to discipline our senses. Start disciplining our senses, right? That's the stage where we have to be. And then we should be going towards mindfulness, concentration and focus on your highest goal. That's what you guys have to do at this moment. If you don't get below it, that's okay. Don't worry about it. You will slowly go it. So you cannot rush through it. right? But I will tell you what piece you have to eat right now is how I can discipline my senses, right? If I am going towards, like when I did that mistake, I would do, what should I have done differently, right? I should have disciplined my senses, thinking that what is the pleasure is not right for me at this moment. What is right is the good, right? I had to decide between pleasure and good at that time. And what did I pick? I picked pleasure, right? I went with my friends to celebrate my win, right? I did not stay behind. And what should be good for me at that time? It was to go in the class, right? And I took pleasure over good, right? You got that point? So where I did the mistake? Where was the mistake done? Mistake was done of not controlling my senses, not disciplining my senses, right? So that, how many times we do it? So right now what we have to do is we just have to think about this stage. Okay guys? We don't have to move forward, but I want you guys to understand that if we are ready to defeat desire, okay, everybody is back. So let's, okay, so that's what in shlok number 42 what God said. Now this is very important thing we have to understand while we are talking about this, right? Senses in shlok number 42 that we read last time. Did we read that one? 42? I think so, right? We only had 43 remaining, I guess, right? I think Swara read it, if I remember it. Right, Swara? 42, you said it? Yeah. So, senses is superior to object. Then, mind is superior to senses. Then intellect is superior to mind. And then self, that's consciousness, is superior to intellect. That's the shlok number 42, where he says that senses is superior to object, mind is superior to senses, intellect is superior to mind, and self is superior to intellect. So what is the most superior? Self. And what is the least superior? The object, right? So that's how he explained it in shlok 40, what was it? Shlok 42, right? Yeah. Now, what does this superior word stands for? What does it mean? And why did he say this? He's superior to this and that's superior to that. What does superior mean here, right? Can anybody guess? So superior word here means like it is more subtler, inward, You can use inward or illuminer. Okay. Let's get the words why it is subtler, inward, and illuminer. Right? Let's get that answer straight. Why does senses is subtler than object, inward than object, and illuminer of the object, right? How does that work? So the three things. First of all, let's see that our eyes sees the object, right? So let's say that when you talk about a flower, you saw a flower. Does flower sees you? If I ask the flower see you or you see the flower, what would be your answer? Of course, I see the flower, right? Or you will say flower saw me. No, right? I see the flower. That's what you're going to say. So what is I here? What is more subtler object? Which is closer to you? Which is inward to you? Is the I, the senses inward to you, or the object is inward to you? What is it? I, right? So I is more subtler and more inward to you, right? Now, you would say that when you have, let's say you have glasses, right? I was seeing good, but now I have glasses, right? So we will come back to this example. Hold on to that one. First, let's stick to the flower example. I think it's going to explain you more better way. So, does the flower, when you say flower see me or I see flower, you said I saw flower. So, with your eyes, we are just sticking to the eyes, the sense organ, right? We are not going to mind, intellect, and consciousness. But with the sense, you saw the object, you saw the flower, right? So what illuminate the flower? Your eyes, right? If you would not have seen, would the flower be there? If you would not have seen it? For you, was there flower there? If you haven't seen, in back of me, I didn't see it. Even if there is a flower in me, can I see the flower? No. So what illuminate the flower in me was my looking at it, right? Then I illuminate the flower that is there, right? So object is illuminated by my senses, right? I taste the cookie, right? When I tasted it, right, the taste bud, the senses illuminate the taste of my cookie, right? So who is the illuminer of the cookie? My sense, right? Not the cookie, right? The object is not illuminating of my taste bud. My taste bud is revealing the cookie taste, right? Let's not say illuminer if that's confusing. Revealing, right? The taste is revealed by my tongue, my sense, right? So the object is not the revealer, the senses is the revealer, right? So this is superior than the object because it's more subtler, more inward, and more revealing, right? That's the thing, reveal it. Now let's go to the next step. What happens here? The mind, right? All the senses gave the information to who? Mind, right? A cup of coffee was there, right? So I saw the coffee, I smelled the coffee, I taste the coffee. So all those senses gave an information to mind, and my mind start thinking, oh, the coffee is really good, right? So all this information, all the data from senses come to the mind. So the mind is one, but they are getting the things from everywhere, information from everywhere. So which one is subtler? Mind is subtler than the senses, right? So mind is more subtler, then mind is more inward, right? You think eyes knows everything is outside, right? When you go inside, then you think about the mind. The thought comes inside, right? Thoughts are not outside. So then it is more subtler, more inward, right? And when the senses give all the information to mind, mind start thinking, So it's not the senses looking at mind, but the mind is getting information from senses. Does the senses getting information from mind? No, but the mind is getting information from senses. So then it is more revealing, the mind is more revealing to the senses, right? So then again, this is superior, mind is superior than the senses. The same way, all the information that mind collected, give it to one intellect. The same rule, right? So the intellect is superior than the mind, right? Now, and then the self, the consciousness in which everything revealed, right? If I don't have a consciousness, can I see a flower? If I don't have consciousness, can I talk to anybody? I die, right? So if there is no consciousness, there is no other activity. So then they does. So consciousness is the biggest one, right? Superior from everything, right? So that's what we need to always remember, that when we get the knowledge of self, all these are underneath it, right? When we get the when the self is there, that's where the intellect comes, the mind comes, the senses come, and then the object comes, right? So now if you look at it, so in shlok number, let's read the shlok number 43, because all these things, God gave this model, but everything at the end in shlok number 43, he will reveal the model, why it makes sense, why he says that who is superior to what. Okay, so let's get to shlok number 43. Swara, are you ready?
Evam Budhe Param Budhva
Evam Budhe Param Budhva
Samstabhyatam Manamatmana
Samstabhyatmanam
Jahi Satrum Mahabaho
Jahi
Shatrum Mahabaho
Kamarupam Durasadam
Kamarupa Durasadam Evam, together guys. Evam Buddhe Param Budhva Samstabhyatmanam Atmana Jahi Shatrum Mahabaho Kamarupam Durasadam. Okay, so now it says, where is 43? Yeah. So God says, now knowing that which is beyond the intellect. What is beyond the intellect here? What is beyond the intellect? What is beyond the intellect?
Self.
Self, right? The consciousness. Knowing that which is beyond the intellect. And you know what is beyond the intellect, Atmana. Control the mind by intellect. He's saying control the mind by intellect. Intellect is again the knowledge of Vedanta. Remember that, that's what we talk about. So control the mind by intellect and kill the enemy. What enemy? In the form of desire, which is very difficult to conquer, right? So God says 3-4 things in this. And this is the end of chapter 3, what he is saying. And it's going to give us all the meaning of it. We are talking about Karma Yoga, but he is ending with the Gyan, right? What we need to do. But he gives us a, he gives us a technique how to do unselfish action. That's what he's giving us, the technique here, right? The Karma Yoga, what is Karma Yoga? To do selfless action, right? Or surrender all your action to God. These are the 2 ways to do Karma Yoga, right? So do good. That's what he's saying. So now he's giving a technique how we can do good even though we have tendency to do bad things, right? So he said, first of all, by knowing what is beyond intellect. Now, always remember, when he says knowing, knowing can be known to you too, to me too. Right now I know what is beyond intellect. The consciousness, the self, right? That's what it is beyond the intellect. Now you know me, you know it, I know it, and a lot of people who are studying Gita know what we are talking about. But knowing here, it's not just knowing, it's stabilizing it, stabilizing that knowledge in you, right? So always remember, when he says knowing it, is not just, oh, I know that there is Atma, there is self, and then after that we don't do anything. It's not that what he's saying. He's saying stabilizing. Knowing, I will put / stabilizing. What is beyond the intellect, right? And then second thing he's saying, like continuation to 8 to the same thing, what he's saying is, what is beyond intellect is the consciousness. Now he's saying that what you need to do is control mind by intellect. So first thing is saying stabilize what is beyond, know what is beyond the intellect, right? Then he's saying control your mind means all your thoughts. Control your thoughts by intellect. And then third thing, he's saying that's how you're going to defeat the enemy, which is desire. And he also mentioned that this is very hard to defeat. So he already understands it's very hard to defeat, right? But now what he is saying, that knowing what is beyond the intellect, knowing yourself, what you are not this body mind, you are this consciousness. If you know that, then use that intellect that you know, to control your mind, right? So using that intellect to control your mind, that's how you defeat the desire, right? And that's how you get rid of desire. Now I know it's very hard to do right now, right? It's what we are talking, and God also says here, it's hard to do, it's not easy to conquer. But where do we start? Now he always gave us, see, he's talking about just this line, right? He's only talking about this intellect right now, intellect and self. And then he's saying control by this, right? We are not here yet, right? We are not here yet. Why? Because we have to start from here. We haven't started from the first line. We have to start here from senses is superior to object. Now we have to, what do we have to do is discipline the senses. That's where we start. Then the mind comes, and then the intellect comes. God is directly jumping on intellect, right? Because they already is teaching to Arjun, who is grown up, who has studied so much, who has a little knowledge, right? Well, for us, we have just started studying Gita, right? We don't have that much knowledge. We cannot stabilize in this intellect of Gyan, saying that we are this consciousness, we are not body, mind and intellect. We are not there yet, right? So to get there, where should we start? We should start from here, the senses, right? Discipline our senses. That's where we start, right? So that's what God is saying in all this third chapter, right? So I think probably this third chapter is so important. Why? Because of the Karma Yoga, right? That's the basic thing that we have to start. And even if we, Karma Yoga is one thing that even if you think that, oh, I don't know if I can do spirituality or not. I don't know if I can go on this step. It's not my interest. I don't like this class. I have to just sit because my parents are forcing me to do it. I'm not interested in it. What should I do? Kind of, if you have that mindset, if you only can understand Karma Yoga, that is good enough for all your life, right? Why? Because Karma Yoga is not just worshipping God. It's like your way of living in this world when you have to do all these worldly things. How can you go doing unselfish thing and good thing over the pleasure. That's the only explanation is given in this, and that is needed to everybody. It's not just the person who goes to temple or worship or do God's work. That's not the only person who need that. It is everybody needs it, right? So that's why the Karma Yoga is so important for us. So probably next class we're going to do a big set of revision of all the third chapter, and the following week we will play some game on the third chapter, because first you have to have, it was such a long class. I think probably last 20-30 weeks we are just studying chapter 3, right? So we have to put it together so you guys can understand the whole scenario, what the Karma Yoga was, and then we can do the summary of it, right? So next week we will do this, just the summary. Yes, Sia?
When we go to the next chapter, we can do a Kahoot.
That's true. Yeah, let me try to do this time too. When we do it, when we go for the next to next week when we go with it, right? Let me try that. That's a good idea. Okay, guys. Any questions? Okay, let's close it. Vasudevasutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadguru Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Para Brahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Okay guys, thank you for coming.